In Margaret Collins, 59, a widowed office manager nestled in the serene suburbs of Oregon, where I've laboured for 2 decades to shield my children, Emily, 32, and Luke, 29, from the shadows of my own hardscrabble past. Every late night balancing budgets, every sacrifice to keep them fed, clothed, and dreaming was a quiet act of love, not obligation, poured into building a life they could stand tall in. Last Tuesday, an email from Emily arrived, her name alone in the sender line. No subject, a simple sight that sparked a smile. My heart expecting updates on her wedding, for which I'd already given $30,000 to cover the venue, photographer and florist. But as I opened it, that warmth vanished, replaced by a cold truth that shattered my world, unraveling the trust I'd woven through years of devotion. In the stillness of my quiet neighborhood, where porch lights glow and lawns are neatly trimmed, the email's revelation hit like a thunderclap, exposing fractures I hadn't seen in the family I'd fought so hard to protect. The joy I'd felt picturing Emily's wedding day dissolved into a raw ache, a betrayal that cut deeper because of the love I'd poured out so freely. My sacrifices, every overtime hour, every skipped vacation, every dollar saved for their future, had been my gift, not a debt they owed. But the email revealed an entitlement I hadn't anticipated, a wound that echoed in the silence of my home. This wasn't just a personal blow. It's a cautionary tale for anyone who's poured their heart into others, only to find trust doesn't guarantee reciprocity. Standing in my kitchen, the hum of the fridge a faint companion, I faced a truth as sharp as it was freeing. Love, no matter how deep, doesn't ensure loyalty. The email didn't just upend my expectations, it marked the start of a journey to redefine my boundaries, to reclaim the space I'd given so freely. In Oregon's calm suburbs, amidst the life I'd built for Emily and Luke, I'm learning that my worth isn't tied to what I provide. This moment, painful as it is a spark, igniting a path to a life where my love is met with respect, not taken for granted. Emily's email landed like a blade, opening with a blunt mum, followed by the cold announcement that she and her fiancé, Andrew, had finalized their Napa Valley wedding guest list without me. I was relegated to a Google Meet link, a hollow promise of a just like being there live stream. Dictated by Andrew's mother's preference for an intimate affair, the LOL tacked on hit like a slap, trivializing the $30,000 ID poured into their venue, photographer, and florist, not to mention the decades of sacrifice, late nights, skipped dreams, endless shifts to give Emily a life free of my own past hardships. I stared at the screen, the words blurring, then typed back, sure. Enjoy your day, my reply calm but sharp, a quiet assertion of dignity over the hurt boiling beneath. I closed my laptop, sipped the cold coffee left on the counter and headed to work. My routine unchanged, but my heart shifted, a seismic crack in the foundation of my devotion. In the quiet hum of my Oregon office, surrounded by the familiar click of keyboards and the scent of my morning coffee gone stale, I felt the weight of Emily's dismissal settle. My sacrifices, every overtime hour, every dollar scrimped, every hope I'd set aside for her and Luke had been my love, freely given, not a debt she owed. But that LOL revealed an entitlement that cut deeper than any argument, a casual erasure of the mother who'd built her world. This wasn't just a personal wound, it's a warning to anyone who's poured their heart into others, only to be sidelined for someone else's optics. My restrained reply wasn't defeat, it was power, a refusal to let their cruelty unravel me. As I drove home through Oregon's serene suburbs, the familiar streets felt different, tinged with a clarity I hadn't sought but now embraced. Emily's exclusion didn't just break my expectations, it freed me to redefine my worth. Love, I learned, doesn't guarantee a front row seat, but it demands respect, not dismissal. In that moment, sipping cold coffee and stepping back into my routine, I began a journey to reclaim my space, to build boundaries where my sacrifices are seen, not exploited. This is my stand not in anger, but in strength, proving that a mother's love doesn't owe anyone her erasure. Driving to Caldwell Walker Law, where I've anchored the office for 18 years, Oregon's spring chill couldn't touch the storm of thoughts racing through me. How did it come to this? After my husband's sudden death, I became the unyielding backbone for Emily and Luke, juggling bills, sacrificing weekends, vacations, and dreams to keep our family afloat. I funded Emily's college switches, her impulsive move to New York, her heartbreak-fueled trips abroad, and poured $10,000 into Luke's home deposit, never keeping score, never asking for thanks. Each dollar, each late night was a labor of love, a mother's vow to shield them from the hardships I'd known. But Emily's email, banishing me from her Napa Valley wedding with a Google Meet link and a mocking LOL, stripped me bare, reducing me to a used-up resource, discarded when my purpose was served. The familiar hum of my car, winding through Oregon's quiet suburbs, contrasted sharply with the chaos in my heart, a reckoning sparked by betrayal. At Caldwell Walker, Id built stability, managing deadlines and crises with a steady hand, yet at home my sacrifices had been invisible, taken for granted by the children Id raised to soar. Emily's exclusion didn't just wound, it exposed a truth Id ignored. My love, boundless and unquestioning, had blinded me to their entitlement. This wasn't just my pain, it's a cautionary tale for anyone who's poured their soul into others, only to be sidelined when no longer convenient. Like a loyal employee cast aside after decades, I'd given everything only to be replaced by someone else's priorities. As I pulled into the law firm's lot, the weight of Emily's dismissal settled beside the clarity of my own worth. That email wasn't just a rejection, it was a spark, igniting a journey to question my role, to redefine the boundaries of a mother's love. I wasn't just mourning, I was awakening, learning that devotion doesn't guarantee a place at the table. In the quiet of my office, amidst the familiar rhythm of phones and files, I began to see. My strength wasn't in what I gave, but in what I could reclaim, a life where my love is met with respect, not exploitation. At Caldwell Walker Law, where I've steadied the office for 18 years, my boss, Roberts, keen eyes caught the tremor in my composure. "You look shaken, Margaret," he said softly, setting a steaming latte on my desk. Small, unexpected kindness that nearly unraveled the dam holding back my pain. I brushed it off with a weak smile, muttering about sleeplessness, unable to voice the raw wound of Emily's wedding exclusion, her Google Meet link and flippant LOL still burning in my chest. My phone buzzed relentlessly with her texts. "Mom, please answer. We need to talk." Each plea was a hook, tugging at the mother who'd always jumped to answer. But I sipped the latte, its warmth grounding me, and realized I no longer had to leap at her. I was free to choose myself. After work, I drove to First Federal Bank, Oregon spring dusk casting long shadows over the quiet streets, mirroring the resolve hardening within me. Carlos, the bank manager, greeted me with his usual warmth. "I need to cancel the Napa venue transfer," I said, my voice calm but unyielding, a quiet rebellion against years of unacknowledged sacrifice. "The $50,000, he asked, eyebrows raised, surprise flickering in his eyes. I nodded, citing changed circumstances, my words deliberate, final. "It hasn't processed yet," he confirmed, glancing at his screen. "You're sure?" "Absolutely," I replied, the weight of that decision lifting a burden I hadn't known I carried. This wasn't just a transaction, it was a stand, a seismic shift in the role it played as the invisible provider. The latte from Robert, a fleeting gesture of care, reminded me of my worth beyond Emily's dismissal, but cancelling the transfer was my own act of empowerment, a reclamation of the $50,000 and the decades of love I'd poured into a family that sidelined me. Emily's texts, her demands for my response, echoed the entitlement I'd enabled too long funding her college switches, her New York dreams, her wedding, all while being erased from her guest list. This moment in the bank's quiet lobby was my line in the sand, a refusal to be a supporting act in someone else's story. My story isn't just mine, it's a beacon for anyone who's given everything, only to be cast aside. Like an employee withdrawing loyalty from an ungrateful employer, I chose self-respect over obligation. The spring chill outside couldn't touch the fire of my clarity. Love doesn't owe anyone a blank check. By cancelling that transfer, I didn't just reclaim my money, I redefined my worth, proving that a mother's heart, though boundless, deserves respect, not dismissal. I cancelled the $50,000 wedding transfer, a final severance from the $80,000 ID poured into Emily's Napa Valley. Nuptials a celebration I was barred from, relegated to a mocking Google Meet link. At home, my phone glowed with 9 missed calls from Emily and 2 from Luke, their urgency capped by a voicemail. Emily's voice trembling. "Mum, don't do this!" I silenced the phone, its screen dark as my resolve, and poured a glass of red wine saved for a Thanksgiving I'd cancelled years ago for their sake. Settling on my Oregon porch, the evening unfolded in serene defiance. Birds sang, a neighbor's dog barked, the air soft with spring's promise. But memories crashed in uncelebrated birthdays. Vacations skipped to fund Emily's college switches and Luke's home deposit. A 14-year-old car limping along because my kids' dreams always came first. Emily's flippant LOL about live streaming her wedding, dictated by Andrew's mother's. Preference for an intimate affair sliced deeper than any knife, a cruel erasure of the mother who'd given everything. This porch wasn't a place of defeat. It was a stage for awakening, each sip of wine a toast to my liberation. For 2 decades, it'd been the invisible scaffold of their lives, juggling bills after my husband's death, sacrificing my own joys to ensure Emily and Luke soared. Their entitlement, crystallized in that email, revealed a truth. I'd been reduced to a resource, useful only for what I could provide. But cancelling that transfer wasn't just about money, it was about reclaiming my worth, a refusal to be sidelined in their story. The calm of the evening, with its birdsong and distant barks, mirrored the clarity settling in my bones. My love didn't owe them my erasure. This isn't just my story. It's a call to anyone who's poured their heart into others, only to be cast aside when inconvenient. Like a worker severing ties with an exploitative employer, I chose dignity over duty, self-respect over obligation. The memories of my sacrifices, every missed milestone, every dollar cent weren't chains anymore. They were proof of my strength, fuel for the boundaries I was now drawing. As I sat on that porch, wine glass in hand, I wasn't mourning, I was redefining myself, proving that a mother's value lies not in what she gives, but in who she is when she stops giving blindly. At 9 p.m., the doorbell's sharp chime cut through the quiet of my Oregon home, startling me from my thoughts. It was Luke, tie askew, sleeves rolled up, clutching his phone like a lifeline. "Mum, why aren't you answering?" "Emily's losing it," he said, stepping inside uninvited, his voice a mix of worry and exasperation. "You're not coming to the wedding?" I shut the door, the soft click a prelude to my resolve. "I was uninvited," I said, my tone even, meeting his gaze. He fidgeted, muttering about Andrew's traditional parents, as if their preference for an intimate guest list excused Emily's betrayal. I sipped my red wine, the glass cool in my hand, and laid it bare. I paid $30,000 for her wedding, nearly sent $50,000 more. Luke's face paled, his eyes wide with shock. "They needed that money," he protested, voice rising. "Not my problem," I replied, steady as stone. His next words shattered something deep within. "You're making it about you." The accusation, sharp with entitlement, echoed years of my sacrifices, uncelebrated birthdays, skipped vacations, a 14-year-old choral for him and Emily, all dismissed as my duty. That broke me, not into tears, but into clarity. "Get out," I said, calm but unyielding, my voice a gavel falling. "I've given everything, my time, my money, my heart, and am done being the villain in your story." Luke stared, stunned, searching for the mother who'd always softened, always yielded. He found none. He left, the door's soft click echoing like a verdict, sealing the end of my role as their invisible provider. As the silence settled, I felt no guilt, only freedom. A rush of liberation that coursed through me like the wine in my glass. For 2 decades, it'd been their scaffold, funding Emily's dreams, Luke's home, their futures, only to be erased from their celebrations with a mocking LOL and a live stream link. This moment on my quiet porch wasn't just an argument's end, it was a declaration of my worth. My story is a call to anyone who's poured their soul into others, only to be blamed for daring to stop. Like a worker walking away from a toxic job, I chose dignity over obligation, proving that love doesn't mean enduring ingratitude. The wine in my hand wasn't just a drink, it was a toast to my reclaimed agency, a life where I'm no longer the supporting act but the author of my own story. Morning broke with a storm of 43 missed calls and a flood of texts from Emily, each one sharper than the last. "Mom, this is childish." Her first message snapped, escalating to panic by dawn. "The venue payment failed. We'll lose everything by tomorrow." At 3:24 a.m., her words turned desperate. "Why are you doing this to me?" Sipping my coffee, its warmth grounding me in my Oregon kitchen, I smirked, not out of cruelty, but from a hard-won clarity. Emily had never questioned the source of her comfort. My sacrifices, $30,000 for her wedding, $50,000 nearly sent, countless years of skipped vacations and worn-out cars rendered invisible until I stopped. An email arrived, boldly titled, "Please don't ruin my wedding," admitting the lost deposit and pleading for funds to save the caterer, even dangling a vague offer to discuss my attendance. No apology, no regret, just a transaction. as if my love, my money, my presence could be bartered. I closed the email, its words fading like a bad dream, and drove to Caldwell Walker Law, where the steady rhythm of my work offered refuge from their drama. For 2 decades, it'd been their silent scaffold funding Emily's, college switches, Luke's home deposit, their dreams, while my own went uncelebrated, my worth tied to what I provided. Emily's LOL about live streaming her wedding, her exclusion of me at Andrew's mother's whim, had shattered that illusion. My silence wasn't petty. It was a deliberate stand, a refusal to be their ATM any longer. The coffee in my hand wasn't just a drink, it was a toast to my autonomy, savoured in the quiet of a life I was reclaiming. This isn't just my story, it's a beacon for anyone who's poured their heart into others, only to be reduced to utility. Like a freelancer cutting off an ungrateful client, I chose respect over obligation, dignity over manipulation. Emily's panic, her transactional plea, echoed the entitlement I'd enabled too long, but I was done bargaining for a place in their lives. My work at the law firm, the hum of phones and rustle of papers, grounded me in a truth. My value isn't in what I give, but in who I am when I stop giving blindly. By ignoring her plea, I didn't just withhold money, I reclaimed my worth, proving that a mother's presence is a gift, not a bargaining chip to be traded. At noon, Robert's gentle nudge to join him at the new Italian restaurant caught me off guard, and I nearly declined, my heart still raw from Emily's betrayal. But the clarity of the past day, a fire kindled by her wedding exclusion and my cancelled $50,000 transfer urged me to say yes. Over steaming plates of pasta, Robert's eyes lit up as he shared stories of his grandkids, his warmth a quiet balm. He paused, studying me, and said, "You seem lighter, Margaret." The words unlocked a floodgate, and I poured out everything Emily's email, banishing me to a live stream, the $30,000 ID already given for her Napa wedding, the $50,000 ID stopped short of sending. He listened, his gaze steady, and when I finished, he said, "Setting boundaries with those we love most is the hardest part." His hand briefly squeezed mine, a fleeting gesture that anchored my choice, affirming I wasn't wrong to reclaim my worth. Back at my desk at Caldwell Walker Law, Emily's frantic calls 43 missed. Her texts escalating from "Mum, this is childish too, we'll lose everything," lit up my phone. I ignored them, my silence no longer avoidance but a shield, a testament to the strength I'd found. For years, I'd been their invisible scaffold, funding Emily's dreams and Luke's home, sacrificing my own joy, sun-celebrated birthdays. A 14-year-old, currently to be dismissed with a mocking LOL and a Google Meet link. My non-response was a declaration. I was done being their utility, done bargaining for a place in their lives. That evening, under Oregon's dimming sky, I found Sophia, Emily's childhood friend, perched nervously on my porch steps, brushing her coat as if dusting off memories of sleepovers and laughter. Her presence was a ghost from a past filled with braided hair and shared secrets, now standing at the edge of my new reality. Was she here to plead Emily's case or to reconnect? I didn't know, but the porch light's soft glow felt like a beacon of my emerging peace, a sign I was ready for whatever came next. This wasn't just a moment, it was a sanctuary, a turning point where Robert's empathy and my own resolve met, fortifying me against the pull of old obligations. My story is a call to anyone who's given everything only to be cast aside. Like a worker finding solidarity after leaving a toxic job, I found strength in Robert's kindness and my own silence. Sophia's arrival, whether for reconciliation or confrontation, didn't shake me. I was no longer the mother who softened for others' comfort. This journey, sparked by Emily's betrayal, isn't just personal. It's a universal anthem for prioritizing self-worth over ingratitude. By standing firm, I'm proving that boundaries don't just protect, they redefine who you are, building a life where love is earned, not demanded. Sophia stood on my porch, her silhouette framed by the soft glow of the Oregon dusk, her voice hesitant as she said, "Mrs. Collins, I'm sorry for dropping by." I invited her in, the creak of the door a quiet echo of the past years of sleepovers and shared laughter, now distant memories. As the kettle hummed on the stove, I offered her tea, setting out mugs with a calm that belied the storm Emily's betrayal had stirred. "Emily sent you?" I asked, my tone steady, cutting through the air. Sophia paused, fidgeting with her coat. "She's a mess venue lost, florist gone, Andrew's parents threatening to cancel." I poured the tea, the steam rising like my resolve, and stayed silent. "She knows she messed up," Sophia added, her young eyes hopeful. "Can she fix it?" I met her gaze, unflinching. "No," I said, my voice clear as the evening sky. "Words don't erase being uninvited, used, discarded after $30,000 and a lifetime of sacrifice." Sophia nodded, a flicker of understanding crossing her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her hug brief but warm, a bridge to a past. It closed before she stepped back into the night. In my kitchen, the mug still steaming, I stood in a sanctuary of my own making, where clarity shone brighter than the pain of Emily's exclusion. Her email, with its mocking LOL and livestream link, had stripped away the illusion that my loved decades of late nights, skipped vacations, $80,000 poured into her dreams, guaranteed a place in her life. Sophia's visit, though well-meaning, was a final echo of Emily's failure to see my humanity. Her plea a shadow of the entitlement I'd enabled too long. My refusal to bend wasn't a cold, it was a triumph, a shield forged from betrayal, protecting the peace Ed fought to claim. This isn't just my story, it's a rallying cry for anyone who's given everything, only to be reduced to a resource. Like a whistleblower standing firm against pleas to retract the truth. I chose integrity over obligation, dignity over manipulation. The tea in my hand, its warmth grounding me, symbolized a resolve rooted not in anger but in self-worth. Sophia's hug, bittersweet and fleeting, couldn't pull me back into the role of the invisible provider. My journey, sparked by Emily's betrayal, is a universal lesson in love's limits. True family doesn't demand sacrifice without respect. By standing firm in my quiet kitchen, I didn't just protect my peace. I redefined what family means, proving that a mother's worth is not in what she gives, but in who she is when she stops giving blindly. I closed the door on a version of myself I'd outgrown her, Margaret tethered to unappreciated sacrifices, drained by decades of giving without receiving. Emily's wedding plans, built on my $80,000 in contributions, crumbled without the $50,000 I'd cancelled. Luke later told me they settled for a modest backyard ceremony, hosted by Andrew's family, with no invitation extended to me. I didn't care, not out of spite, but from a hard-won indifference to their entitlement. Emily sent a lengthy email, a tangled weave of half-hearted apology and flimsy excuses. still laced with the expectation that I'd soften, that I'd return to my role as their invisible provider. I read it once, my eyes scanning her words in the quiet of my Oregon home, then archived it with a single click. No anger stirred, no guilt lingered, just a profound finality, a door shut on their relentless demands. In the calm of my suburban life, where the hum of routine at Caldwell Walker Law grounded me, I felt the weight of their exclusion lift. For years, I'd been their scaffold $30,000 for Emily's wedding, $10,000 for Luke's home deposit, countless sacrifices of my own dreams, only to be erased with a mocking LOL and a live stream link. Their backyard ceremony, stripped of the grandeur I'd once funded, wasn't a loss. It was confirmation of their unchanged priorities, their failure to see me beyond what I could provide. Archiving Emily's email wasn't cold, it was closure, a symbolic burial of the hold they'd had over me, a refusal to be pulled back into their drama. This isn't just my story. It's a beacon for anyone who's poured their heart into others only to be reduced to a resource, like a worker walking away from an exploitative job. I chose dignity over obligation, peace over the chaos of their expectations. The memories of my sacrifices, uncelebrated birthdays, a 14-year-old car, vacations skipped for their sake were no longer chains, but proof of my strength, fuel for the boundaries I now hold firm. In the quiet of my porch, under Oregon's starlit sky, I am no longer the mother who bends to their whims. My journey, sparked by their betrayal, is a universal call to reject one-sided devotion. By moving on, I didn't just end contact. I redefined my identity, proving that true freedom comes from letting go of those who only take, and embracing a life where my worth shines on my own terms. A quiet clarity has settled over me, washing away decades of bracing for demands cloaked as love, replacing them with a freedom I hadn't known I could claim. I set a new rule, carved from the pain of Emily's wedding exclusion and Luke's complicity. If my presence is optional, so is my sacrifice. No longer the invisible scaffold for their lives, I now pour my energy into myself. I go to work at Caldwell Walker Law, where the rhythm of files and phones grounds me. I lose myself in novels, their pages a refuge of stories that ask nothing of me. I try pottery, my hands shaping clay into something new, something mine. I dine with friends, true friends, who value me for my laughter, my thoughts, not my utility. I've learned a truth as sharp as it is liberating. You don't have to exhaust yourself to prove your worth. I'm sharing this because it might resonate with someone out there, carrying the weight of others' expectations. What do you think? Does this strike a chord? Drop your thoughts below, and if my journey moves you, like and subscribe for more stories of breaking free. This isn't just a new chapter, it's a rebellion against the martyrdom I once wore like a badge. For years, I poured everything into Emily and Luke $80,000 for her wedding, $10,000 for his home, uncelebrated birthdays, a 14-year-old corral, while they sidelined me with a mocking LOL and a live stream link. Their entitlement, their dismissal, taught me that love isn't measured by what you give, but by what you refuse to let others take. My pottery wheel, my books, my evenings with friends, they're bricks in a fortress of peace, built not from anger, but from a resolve to owe myself first. Emily's collapsed wedding plans, Luke's silence, their backyard ceremony without me, their proof their world doesn't crumble without my sacrifice, only their illusion of my obligation. My story is a call to anyone who's drained themselves for ungrateful takers. believing love demands self-sacrifice. Like an activist reclaiming time after overgiving to a cause, I've chosen self-preservation over exhaustion. Each morning, unburdened by their demands, I breathe easier, my life a canvas for joy I no longer defer. This journey, sparked by betrayal, is a universal anthem. True love doesn't demand your erasure. It begins with the courage to value yourself. By embracing my own happiness, I'm not just finding peace, I'm redefining love as something I owe myself first, proving that worth shines brightest when you stop giving it away.